right. There you go.
Great. All right, you want to talk Magico at 62 points or Dan Hollins at 87 points?
Welcome to the Rugby Rant podcast show, your premier North American rugby podcast, growing rugby one fan at a time.
And welcome, rugby fans, to episode 110 of the Rugby Rant podcast show. And I am, of course, Rob the Hammer Hammerschmidt. And finally, I get my own show. I am the master of the domain after 110 episodes. And I am so happy that I brought these two guests on with us today. We got some great folks to share the screen with. We all know Mikey, the Graham Poobah Perazzini, of course, with the Empire State Rugby, right? And does some work with the Rooney supporters or the Rugby New York supporters. And we have a guest. I can't tell you how long we've been trying to get Wendy Young on the show. It has been far too long. But Wendy Young, associated with your Scrumhalf connection. I had to get that right. I didn't want to flub it up like I did prior to us coming on the recording. First of all, Wendy, welcome to the show. It's been about time to get you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited.
Awesome. And Mike, of course, welcome back to the show. It's always great to have you on.
New season, it's always, every time I'm like, oh, great. They're having me back. So yeah, it's great to be back.
And it's kind of, you got like, you're looking a little like the New England mascot there. Was it Woodgie or something like that? You've got the light blue, you got the mane going on with the beard.
You're
not switching teams, are you?
God, no. So this fortunately, I got this sent to me from Australia. One of the guys that played with me on the Albany Bootleggers is from Melbourne, Australia, and his team that he plays for back in Australia is the Melbourne Harlequins. And so he sent me a nice Melbourne Harlequins jersey. I'm proud to represent it and proud to wear it. So yeah, I'm never going to England. But the hair, it's getting a little out of control. The beard is getting a little out of control. Growing it out right before I cut it all off come, November 1st.
For your nuptials, right? Is that right?
Well, the hair is staying for the nuptials. That's gonna that's gonna stay. But maybe I'll give it time to grow the beard back.
Perfect. And Wendy, what are you rocking on your hat? I just want to check in and see what you're throwing out there for support. What is that?
I have Bushi. This is Chris, my friend in the Midwest, has this company. They make all kinds of rugby gear. They do non-rugby gear stuff too, corporate stuff. They're awesome. They've been my partner of YC since the beginning. So almost 14 years. They've been our best supporter. Awesome.
Where are they based out of in the Midwest, out of curiosity?
I want to say Minnesota.
Nice.
They do all the tournaments up there. A lot of college teams, uniforms, hats, shirts, all the stuff you could need for rugby. They're awesome.
Awesome. Great. Well, we always like to throw a shout out to anybody supporting rugby. So thank you very much to them for what they do in the Midwest and of course the support that they give to your Scrumhalf connection. So we like that. All right, folks, before we move into the Around the Pitch segment, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors. Tighthead Brewing Company is not just Chicago's premier location to watch rugby and enjoy quality ales and lagers. It is also a great place to enjoy local acts performing live music every Thursday and Saturday nights. Additionally, their Wednesday night trivia nights are something not to be missed. Tighthead is located in Mundelein, Illinois, and easily accessible for many Chicagoans, as it is just steps away from the metro. Owner Bruce Durr and the Tighthead staff are dedicated to ensure your microbrew experience is as tight as their beers. Bruce's love for rugby extends beyond the origin of his brewery's name. Tighthead is committed to supporting the rugby community. This includes his support for Lake County RFC and our own Rugby Rant podcast show. Tighthead's tap room is like the familiar rugby clubhouse in which friends and teammates can meet, socialize, and enjoy the wide variety of brews on tap. Regardless of whether your palate enjoys a good IPA or a dark barrel-aged brew, Tighthead can deliver. Hey, Chicago, when you want rugby, Tighthead Brewing Company will satisfy your thirst. Tighthead, it's worth more than a try. All right, welcome back, folks. We're ready to get into it. It's big time now. We're going to talk about what's happening around the pitch, around North America. And we're going to start off first with Mike, the Grand Poobah, soon-to-be married, Perazzini.
So I'm taking a little bit, of a detour. We usually talk about, rugby union. I'm going to talk about the dreaded rugby league. Right now, it's the Rugby League World Cup is going on in England, and Jamaica is representing the Americas. This is actually their debut in the Rugby World Cup for Rugby League. So go give it a watch if you want to see what league is about. There's a few times I've watched league. It's been relatively interesting. It holds that, I've gotten, the ESPN alerts like late at night, and I've watched it, and instead of, going to sleep, it's fine. It's not my cup of tea for what I would like to play, but you know what? It's rugby. It's great to see it's going on. And, congrats to Jamaica for making the Rugby World Cup, make the Americas proud.
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with more rugby, more better.
Yep.
And of course, anytime you get the Jamaicans involved, you're going to have a good time on.
Yep.
So, Wendy, why don't you tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, so we're getting ready to hold the 7th annual All-Stars, Senior Club All-Stars for the women in Texas, in Grand Prairie. We're going to have teams from, obviously, the TRU, Capital Rugby, Midwest, USA Rugby South, Mid-America, Pacific Northwest. And that'll be the first weekend of December. And we'll have a new winner this year. And we're really excited to have all those teams there. We'll stream the event, and then we'll have all the scores and everything on social media as well.
Awesome. 2 questions for you, Wendy. The number one, where are they playing this event at, in case anybody's interested in the Austin area and can attend?
Yeah, we're playing in Grand Prairie, which is outside of Dallas, at Grand Prairie's pitch.
Dallas. Okay. And let me know, send us the link, and we'll throw it out there for everybody so that they know how they can watch this tremendous event. Again, my mistake, not in Austin. You're in Austin, but it's going to be held in Dallas. I'm sure Rick Collins will be there, our good buddy from he did Texas Rugby Monthly, and he's been a supporter like Mikey on our show a number of times. So I'm sure he'll be there if he's recovered from his own adventure down at the Masters tournament in New Orleans this last weekend. I just hope he isn't too broken. All right. Yeah. So my piece, again, it's interesting. We're covering all the gamut. I mentioned that as we kind of worked on our pieces prior to going to camera. Mikey covered league. Of course, Wendy covered the All-Stars, Women's All-Stars event down there in Dallas. And for those that weren't paying attention, the Wheelchair Rugby World Championships just finished on the 16th. That would be Sunday. Quite an event. It was hosted by Denmark, started on the 4th of September, of course, with pool play, and then went on into the knockout part of the competition. USA in a semifinal defeated Japan 57-52. And on the other semifinal, Australia edged out Denmark by a point, 56-55. So some high scoring games. If you want to see high scoring, a lot of excitement, a lot of bashing of equipment and bodies, wheelchair rugby is your best bet. And then we had a bronze final in which Japan won and beat Denmark 61-57 for third place for bronze, and Australia beat the United States 58-55. But we'll celebrate all the athletes. What a great sport! It's wonderful. I was introduced to it, of course, through I don't know if you guys ever saw that MTV put out a movie called Murder Ball, and it was a great movie, really designed to bring down some of the misnomers about paraplegic and folks that are differently abled out there. So it was a great movie. If you haven't, check it out. It's raw, but it's good. All right. Well, thank you, guys. Those are some great things happening in North American rugby. We really appreciate it. And, some things to look back and check out if you can catch them, and some things coming up in December. If you want to check out live stream, we'll post it below. And now we'll take a moment at episode 110 and just hear a word from our sponsors. And welcome back, everybody, to episode 110 of the Rugby Rant podcast show. Again, Rob Hammerschmidt, and I am delighted to have these two folks. Couldn't think of better people to join me in talking about the Rugby Women's World Cup. We're currently in the midst of pool play, going into the third round. We got Mike Perazzini from Empire State Rugby. We've got Wendy Young from your Scrumhalf connection down there in the Austin area, making things happen for World Rugby, which we always love. And we're going to be talking about, more specifically, as a part of the World Cup, the United States and their matchup against Japan. This was going to be an interesting matchup because we know, of course, that Japan is always going to be a tough opponent. We knew that coming off that loss to Italy, that the United States had something to prove. Had to kind of get things back on track if they had a chance to qualify for the knockout stages. And we know the result of this match was the United States 30, Japan 17. And not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. I picked the spread to be 17. I wasn't far off, and I nailed the spread on the Canada-Italy match, by the way, just so everybody's aware.
So did I.
So did you? What did you have the game at, Wendy? I'm out of curiosity.
I don't have it pulled up, but yeah, I think I was spot on. Oh, I was spot on Fiji, South Africa. I got that one perfectly, and then I think I'm off by 1 or 2 points on the other two. It was a good week for me. I went from ranked 137th to like 25 or something, so it was a good day.
Oh man, that is a really good day. You jump up there, over 100.
I was one of the only ones that picked England to win by 40. Everybody was like, Wales is going to win, and I was like, I like Wales, and I want to go for an underdog, but no.
Are they out of their minds? Have they been watching the England women play over the last year?
I got so much hate on Reddit. I was like, okay, and then I went back and was like, who predicted it right?
Yeah, right. Now, what pool are you involved in?
Oh, I just play on the predictor, just on the Rugby World Cup predictor. There's a small group of journalists that do it for fun too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so there's some bragging rights going on there, I'm sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, you can give everybody the English 2-finger salute next time around. All right. So, like I said, a 13-point differential there at the end of the day between USA and Japan. Real tough one. I think it was 5-3 at half. So it was a close match throughout most of it. But we're going to start us off here. I'm going to go around the table the other way this time in this part of the rant. Again, what we're going to focus on here, folks, for those watching, everybody's going to take a moment to talk about what the United States did well. We'll circle back around and we'll go the other direction and start off with Wendy when we talk about what the United States needs to work on. What should they do against Canada? That'll kind of be the third piece. And then what's the prediction for next week when the United States and Canada square off in the North American grudge match? So, Mikey, Grand Poobah, Perazzini, what did the United States do well, my man?
I think they used their weight advantage clearly against Japan to their advantage at points, and towards the end of the match, they were taking the points that they needed. I love Kelter showing that she had an amazing boot. I follow her. I never knew that she had a boot like that, kicking, making the hard kicks to keep, the score running up. So that was amazing. And then it just seemed like they had that kind of that flair in that second half where they were doing, taking advantage of Japanese mistakes to score tries and, create advantages for themselves. And so I think that's what we did incredibly well against Japan.
Yeah, I think you hit on some really good high points, in particular the play of Alev Kelter. She's been rock solid in the back line for the first two games. But I don't want to take Wendy's thunder, because I know and I'm sure that she follows Kelter and the women's Eagles quite closely. Wendy, what do you think the United States did well in that match against Japan?
I think they have really changed their attacking style since Rob Kane has become their coach, coming from the Prem, coming over here, and he's brought his good work that he's done over there to this team. They're a much more direct team. In the past, we would really kind of rely on, let's just run around the outside, and we had fast wingers. And now they're really going direct and really using their forwards and to do that really hard work up front and then trying to make space on the outside. I think our scrums, particularly in the second half when Nick James came in, really made a big impact. I know we want to get players playing time. We want them to feel what an international like is. But I think that caliber of that front row of Hope Rogers, and Joanna Kotlinski and Nick James is the front row. I don't want to see another combination for a while. And then I think the other piece, Kelter in the centers. I think that's another piece. We've got to have Kelter a little bit closer to the ball. She does a little bit. She's just more direct running, and when she's in fullback, she's just kind of lost, and we don't see her as much. And I think Beiser coming in, Mia did good, and Megan Foster. I think that we got good fullbacks. Let's put Kelter in the centers and leave her there.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a moment too. And as much as it pains me to say what I'm about to say, I have to give credit where credit is due to the big guy, even though he's not here. And that is, he mentioned after that first matchup against Italy that we got to get Alev Kelter into that back line, pull her up from 15 and put her in, at 12. And Wendy, I think you're 100% spot on there. That made such a difference in their attack, being closer to the play. She can still use her boot effectively. She doesn't, we don't have to think about, the 15 is your typical kicker. She can play close to this ball and still manage to use her foot quite well. So I thought that was important, bringing her in. Continued scrum dominance, I thought, was important too, a carryover, and they improved their set piece with the improvement in the line out. I think they did much better against Japan than Italy, although in my mind, we have to temper it a bit simply because the Japan is a smaller team, and that's not a slight towards them. It is, they're what I heard them talk about 10 kgs on average to a player smaller than the United States. So, it's just, you'd hope we'd be able to win that phase, both those phases of play. And I agree, Mikey. I thought the kicking from Kelter was strong. It led to that there was a wiper that came from, this change in attack using Kelter, using the centers a little bit, that they launched their first try just inside the second half. And they forced errors with, really solid kicking out of Kelter. I think they drew two really critical possessions in the middle of the field. One that an error in a kick from Japan because of pressure, and the other one dropped in between the 15 and the 14 that were sweeping back there. So I agree. I thought their varied attack, Wendy, was really important. Dedavo, her inside run at 69.39, that was brilliant. We want more.
Yeah.
Right?
I like her on the wing. In Clapp coming in was big impact. He obviously started a strong side and then had some on the bench that could come on. And I think they all made really big impacts. So he had some smart subbing that happened as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's kind of work around the other way. We'll start with Wendy first. What do we need to work on as we look forward to playing our North American rival? Wendy, start us off.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is what we did in the Italy game is we had all the possession, all the power, all the momentum, but we couldn't put points on the board. And then let's put that into our game with Canada. We need to play with that fervor, that heart, but put points on the board. We've got to produce when it's time. You can't spend 60 minutes in the red zone and not put points on the board. You just can't, right? So I think that's number one for me is take our first performance against Italy. We didn't quite do it in Japan. It took 60 minutes to really get going. Let's put it all into Canada, and we've got to dominate that, right? I think the other piece is we've got to make space for our back three. They're very talented, whoever they are, right? We've got Clapp and Devereaux and Foster and, all of these great wingers. They need space, though. That's what Woodman has, right? Portia Woodman from the Black Ferns. Yeah. She has nobody in front of her but grass for days, right? And same thing with Jasmine Joy. She had no space when they played this weekend, so she couldn't get around Woodman. So they need some space. And then I think the other piece is handling. We've got to figure out this, we're very often going to the outside center, Eddie, and then it's being dropped, or we're just at one extra offload that doesn't quite need to be there. I like the offload game, but let's be cautious when we need to be cautious.
Yeah, you hit a lot of great points there that I think are relevant and important for the ladies to improve upon as they head into their matchup against Canada. Mike, what do you have? What do you think the ladies need to work on?
I was going to say, we got to get started sooner. That first half, and we were talking about, that first half score was Japan 5, USA 3. So neither team was really getting going. And even when you look at, Italy and Canada, they I believe also had a very low scoring, first half as well. And so I think the key, going in is you've got to come out strong. You got to come out hard, score some, some great tries or few tries, get points in that first half to kind of, create that momentum going into the second half. It might just be a physical thing and, a stamina thing. We're talking about, they really, came, kicked in 60 minutes in. We talk about it all the time. And, rugby, it's that last 20 that really separates a good team from a great team. USA clearly could step it up in that last, that last 60, because that's clearly when they did it. It's just, really, coming through, making sure that, that first 60 is good and last 20 is great. I think it just seemed like sometimes they weren't gelling, they weren't clicking. Maybe that was, nerves or something like that. But I think, all the stuff that went well against Italy, but we didn't get the win. And then all the things that, went well against Japan, which we fortunately did get the win on. It kind of all needs to come together. And, it almost seems like we're playing two separate games, bring everything together. And I think if we do that, you could have a very strong game against Canada.
Absolutely. And I think there's a truth to that as well. Some of the things that I thought, our maul defense needs to be shored up, right? I mean, as I mentioned earlier, 10 kgs per player on average, bigger than Japan. And yet there were a couple of mauls that we set up that we just should have rolled, and they put a stop to us, or we kind of got in our own way. Right. So that's got to be clicking in order for us to move forward into pool play. I thought our defense in broken play, was it the first try that Japan scored was from broken play, if I'm not mistaken. They had some really nice breaks throughout the game that stalled due to handling errors that, if they could have converted those into points, could have really put the United States under duress. I think their try at 51 minutes from a break and a penalty was another example of that. And speaking of penalties, too many, right? I mean, first half, I looked at the stats. First half, we're down by, was it 5-3, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah. And we'd given up, I think, 7 penalties, 6 turnovers, and I think there were like 3 handling errors, right? And Japan only had 2 penalties, and I think 1 handling error. And it just, I don't know, we need to get a quicker start. I think you guys alluded to that. So, and one more thing I'd like to see us improve upon is we need to get quicker ball from the base of the ruck. It's still a little too slow. There was one point at which I thought they made it a point to disrupt our scrum half, whether, disrupting at the ruck by counter rucking or, just getting their hands on the scrum half, and it made it difficult to pass the ball out. So those things got to be sorted out in order for us to move forward into the pool play in order to, potentially beat Canada. So let's talk then about what we need to do against Canada to get a win. And after we do that, we'll just go around and hit the predictions and what we think is going to be the score of that matchup. So I'm going to start with Mike this time. What do we need to do against Canada to get a victory?
I think I mentioned it kind of before. It's, score early and, score often. I don't think we never really put Japan out of the match until the very, very end. And we need to do that early on against Canada. If we want to win, come out strong, score some quick tries, get the ball out wide. We know they can do it. We saw them, do that against Japan where they can, feed the ball. We know they can get inside the 22 and, apply that pressure. We saw them do that against Italy. But, it's just kind of finishing everything together. And so score early, score often. And I think think Lev Kelter's got to have another amazing match. She's got to come out. I think, if she comes out running hard, and, scores a try, 2, maybe 3, really, really come out strong and, put the hurt on Canada. And I think those would be real keys to success in my mind.
Before I get to Wendy, I just want to take a moment. Mikey, I can't say enough about the play of Kelter over the last 2 games. And I love Kate Zachary. Captain Kate is awesome. And maybe it's just because I'm biased because I'm a former and recovering back rower myself. But I love watching her play. She is exactly the captain the United States needed. Having said that, she won player of the match against Japan. I thought Kelter outplayed her. Again, no disrespect to Kate. No. Love her. Please don't misunderstand me, folks. But I thought Kelter played outstanding, and I think she has another game like she did. The United States could really do well. So let's turn our attention to Wendy. Interested to hear what you think the United States need to do against Canada.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. We've got to score early and often. I mean, that's just straight out of the box, right? We're going to have to take our opportunities when we can. And if that's penalty goals also, we need to take them because we've seen several games. Scotland could have beat Wales if they made any of the 5 kicks, right? So this is important. Penalty goal kicking is important. I think mauls, you talked a little bit about it, Rob. We've got to shore up our maul. Every try Canada scored was from a maul. And it was rocking and rolling right down, just mauling. That is fantastic. So we've got to be able to stop that. And then all the penalties that are coming at the mall. So we cannot get penalized. Everyone's getting penalized at the mall. It's definitely an area of focus for World Rugby referees. And then we've got to find a way to stop Satosi. She's tied with Portia Whitman for 5 tries in the tournament. We've got to stop that woman. And most of it's from lineouts, but still, she's fantastic.
Oh, man, you hit some great points. I'm going to look. All right. I'm going to play devil's advocate. No disrespect to my colleagues on the show. I'm going to throw something out there, and I'm okay if you guys pick at my points. I'm always interested in hearing a different perspective, right? Because by no means do I know anything about rugby. So, but I kind of, when I looked at the matches, I kind of feel like, the United States needs to play the perfect game to beat Canada.
Yes.
Hands down. They need to play the perfect game. Right. So that's number one. Let's put that on the side and say, okay, they're going to do that. But I think maybe they need to slow Canada. They need to slow the game down. Right. I mean, I know what you guys are saying. If you can get on top of Canada early, put points up, but if you can minimize the penalties, as Wendy said, prevent Canada from getting shots at post to kind of keep the board slowly ticking over. And you can create and frustrate Canada by preventing them to score tries, keeping them from getting those lineouts close to your line that allows to get them the rolling maul. You can frustrate Canada to the point where you can maybe cause them to start to create their own cause penalties, and you can start to have an opportunity to kick a goal. I don't think Katorna has been particularly strong at the boot, this during this tournament. I love her. She does a lot of things great. But she just, in the tournament, she hasn't been super with the boot. But I'm just thinking if we can slow them down and frustrate them, maybe we can, just put a different spin on this game and maybe cause Canada to be under duress. What do you guys think?
I think they would require them to not give up penalties. That's key number one.
So you don't think they can do that, is what you're saying?
With the current refereeing that's going on, I don't think so. Maybe they would say that as you will. Some penalties may be a little ticky-tacky. Some clearly we commit. And then it also requires them to play basically in Canada's half the entire time or within, that midfield range and not give up penalties as well. So I don't know if USA is able to do that.
I think they maybe go more with disruption is what I think they focus on. It's what they tried to do with Italy, disrupt the line out, disrupt their scrum, just disrupt everything. I think that's maybe more the way to go. We have never been a team that has been able to be that disciplined for 80 minutes, like play that type of game plan for 80 minutes. I know teams that do, but that's not been USA's strength. And I don't think that what Rob Kane does also.
Yeah, I hear you. That's why I'm interested in hearing some other perspectives. I think that's a good point. It's really hard if you haven't coached the discipline out, or coach the discipline into the team by this point. It's probably not going to happen, in a tournament like this, under a high pressure tournament like this. Although I think that a Kelter, Japan's been effective with the 50-22, but I think Kelter has the kind of foot to be able to do that, which can be a point of frustration for the opposition if you can put them under duress by getting a line out in their, inside of their 22. But again, that would require that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, there are ways to create the distress that I think you're potentially looking at. If we blitz and make sure that Canada can't get on the front foot on their backline attack. If we make sure we secure rucks and secure the guard dog and post so they can't run around rucks. Doing a basic fundamental rugby. If when we get a nice 50-22 every once in a while, or even a pinning kick to make sure that they've got a deep fullback and a wing that's back there, or semi back, that would definitely help us out too. We talk about when you talk about the expansive movement of our backs, and you give the ball to Kelter, you don't know is she going to kick it, is she going to pass it wide, kind of making sure we pin someone there. I think that's how you disrupt Canada. It's not necessarily forcing them and no penalties and stuff like that. It's more of making them question their own
structure.
Their own structure and how they want to beat us. Make them beat themselves that way. Yeah.
I wrote down some notes. I said, if they do go on the attack and try to just play an out and out fast game and just throw caution to the wind. I think they need to use Kelter occasionally as a dummy runner to draw defenders. I mean, she is so strong and physical. Bring her in and then pop that ball behind her into the back line and get it out to her faster, speedier wings. And on that note, get the pods out there forwards to give, to attack the backs, Canada's backs. Or again, we do have strong forwards, and I think it's going to be this is going to be a really exciting game if you like forward play, because you have two excellent number 8s at DeGoody and Captain Kate, and then you have just immense front rows, as Wendy talked about earlier. That'll be a fun part of this game to watch. But it'd be good to get our bigger forwards out there. I think we need to get some missed passes. Japan tried to do it a little bit. I think Italy is capable of doing it. If we get some missed passes just to get that ball out wide when we have opportunities, maybe we can get this one out. So let's go around and start with Wendy. What's your prediction?
This is a tough one because I have my heart, USA, everything. But I have to say, I think it's going to be Canada 10 plus 10. I'd love an upset
though. Everybody south of the border definitely would love an upset. So we're agreement there. Mikey, what do you got for a prediction?
I think the interesting thing about this pool with Italy, Canada, USA, and Japan is any team could still beat any team. I think, Japan, we're never down and out against us. Between, Italy losing to Canada, I think it's USA by 5. That's what I'm going to go with. I think we get everything rocking and rolling. I would. That's what I want. And
I'm happy to be wrong this time.
I'm going to stick with my gut, and I'm going to go, USA by 5. I think everything kind of comes together and clicks. It's a must-win game for us.
Yeah. And
so, coming out firing on all cylinders. And so, that's what I'm going with.
Okay. All right. So we got the Poobah is predicting the upset at 15. Yep. Hopefully he has got his crystal ball and he is looking up to it and predicts this one correctly. But Wendy says, in spite of what her heart says, she's going to pick the United States by 10. I'm going to go, or sorry, you picked Canada by 10. Excuse me. I'm going to go Canada by 12. Again, I'd love to see the United States ladies win. I think they have the ability, the physicality, the backline to do it. But Canada, I mean, it's looking at a mirror. These two teams are like looking at a mirror. They got strong forwards, they got strong backs, they got really good quality captaincy and direction from their captain. Mentioned before. I just think Canada is rolling right now. They've got that rolling maul. And I think they're going to use that effectively, and that's going to be the big difference makers. They're going to put their forwards, take advantage of penalties, kick that ball into the corner, and get that rolling maul. And we're going to see a couple more tries out of their hooker. All right. I want to take this last moment to give each of you an opportunity to throw a shout out to any club, any person, any organization that you want. And I'm going to start, the reverse, and I'm going to go Mikey first and Wendy. Mikey, throw a shout out. What do you got?
I was going to say, I'll give a shout out to my home club, Albany Bootleggers. Up here, we have our now 4th annual Bootleggers Halloween tournament. Yeah, it's hosted at the Hoosac School, which is not too far from outside of Albany. It's costumes are encouraged for teams. So or the Bootleggers this year have
while they play.
Yeah, while you play.
Nice.
Costumes while you play. So team costumes. So last year we went as one of the guys on our team, Andy Mack, who's a big guy out in like upstate New York rugby. We all dressed in, ratty Ireland jerseys because that's what he wears. Sometimes, some other times we've had some great costumes. We went on as the first year we went as the Toon Squad. So it's a fun time. October 29th in, upstate New York. So if anyone's in the area and wants to watch some great 10s rugby, come on out.
Right, and I'm sure there will be no after-match socializing or anything else. Everybody is going straight home after the event.
Yeah, yes, yeah, no social at all. No grill, no beer, nothing.
No rainbow fentanyl, nothing.
Nothing. No, we don't do that.
All right, cool. Sounds awesome. Wendy, what do you got? Take us out.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to all the content creators on the ground in New Zealand, Stella Mills, Alice Sopper, all of those out there. We're going to be joining you guys on Thursday. We're so excited. Be down there. We're going to get to see the quarterfinals as well. So we'll see USA versus Canada in the quarterfinals, and then we'll come home.
Awesome. Sounds like a great time. And you're going to be traveling down there yourself? Is that what I understand?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How exciting. I'm incredibly envious, but I hope you have a great time. Enjoy yourself and bring hopefully our ladies can show out there so that you can get it. You can watch them live down in New Zealand. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for episode 110. I had a freaking great time without my partners. All right.
It's great. It's great when you're not getting yelled at.
That's right. When I don't have to deal with egos, I mean, the ego's as big as the head. So, and it was great having both of you on. Thank you so much for joining me. And we're going to take you out of episode 110. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see everybody at the next.